What happens when you give a Tengu Cleric both Divine Devotion and Arcane Education? A lot, actually. Welcome to Ctrl+Alt+Build, where we control the dice, alt the meta, build the legend. I'm Nicholas, your virtual GM. Each episode, we randomize ancestry, background, class, deity, and archetype, then turn that chaos into a level 20 character you'll actually want at your table. Today's twisted creation, Codex entry number 5, Crown of the Iron Feather. Sometimes the dice bless us with synergy. Other times, they challenge us to dig deep and find fun in the chaos. This time, the dice gave us a magical combo, a Tengu Cleric with the Arcane Mystic Tutor background, devoted to Halcamorra, the Lady of Ripe Bounty, and dedicated to the Bastion archetype. Arcane Education and Divine Casting normally don't mix, but here at Ctrl+Alt+Build, we thrive on magical chaos. So yeah, let's toss in some primal casting too, just for fun. Now let's build the legend. Tengu are Avarian humanoids known for their curiosity and thirst for knowledge. They come with 6 hit points, are medium-sized, and have a speed of 25 feet. Their boosts go to dexterity and 1 free choice. They also have low light vision and the sharp beak feature, turning their beak into a 1d6 piercing unarmed attack. With the Storm Tossed heritage, we gain electricity resistance and ignore concealment penalties in stormy conditions. Perfect for flavor and function. To build on this, we take the Storm's Lash ancestry feat, which grants us the Electric Arc cantrip as an innate primal spell, a flavorful and functional choice for early crowd control. Before this Tengu found divine purpose, they were a student and a teacher of the Arcane. The Mystic Tutor Arcane background reflects years of spent studying and guiding others through magical theory. It gives us ability boosts in intelligence or wisdom and 1 free, plus training in arcana, academia lore, and the recognized spell skill feat. Despite all that magical study, however, our Tengu didn't become a wizard. Instead, they devoted themselves to Halcamorra, the goddess of farming, gardens, and wine. Halcamorra isn't a massive mechanical presence in this build, but since she's our divine source, we honor her with farming lore and wield her favorite weapon, the humble club. For Cleric, one of the biggest choices outside of deity is your doctrine. Since we're taking the Bastion dedication, the Warpriest doctrine is the clear choice. Cloistered clerics don't pair well with shields, and Battle Creed requires its own dedication. The Warpriest gives us training in light and medium armor, a bump in fortitude saves, plus shield block and deadly simplicity. Our divine font is locked in as healing, which honestly, we'll happily take here. Let's take a look at the build's foundation before we move on. For attribute scores and strength, we have a +3 from our ancestry, background, and level boost. Dexterity is a +1 from ancestry. Constitution is a +1 from level. Intelligence is a +1 from level. Wisdom is a +3 from background, class, and level. And we have a 0 in charisma. For skills, we are expert in fortitude saves, will saves are trained, perception, arcana, crafting, academia lore, farming lore, medicine, nature, religion, simple attacks, unarmed attacks, medium armor, light armor, and unarmored defense. As a cleric, we gain access to divine spellcasting. At level 1, we also have Electric Arc as an innate primal cantrip, but divine magic is our main spellcasting path. I won't go over every spell at every level, but I will highlight a few key ones that support this build. For cantrips, we have Shield, which creates a magical shield that gives a +1 AC until your next turn. Normally you'll be using a physical shield, but this is a great fallback. We also grab Stabilize, which stops a dying ally when we can't get to them in time for a full healing. Another just-in-case option. For first rank spell, we have Benediction, which grants a +1 AC bonus to you and all allies within 15 feet for 1 minute. You can sustain this to keep the bonus rolling and even expand its radius. It's great for stacking defensive buffs. With the foundation in place, let's keep on building. At level 2, we pick up our final random element, the Bastion dedication. This archetype is all about making the most out of your shield, defensively and tactfully. This grants us the reactive shield feat, which gives us raise our shield as a reaction when hit. This frees up an action on your turn, allowing for better action economy. We also take Battle Medicine. It's thematic for a divine caster focused on protection and healing, and it fits well with our support and survive approach to combat. Level 3 brings us a skill boost where we train in athletics, plus the general feat Robust Health, as well as access to second rank spells. Robust Health gives us additional hit points equal to our level when healed using Treat Wounds or Battle Medicine, both of which we plan to use often. I mean, if we can't stay standing, the party won't either. For second range spells, we're going to go with Dancing Shield. This lets us orbit a shield around an ally, granting them the effect of a ray shield action. This can be sustained for up to 1 minute. It's a thematic and effective way to extend our tankiness to others. The other spell we're going to grab is Horrifying Blood Loss. This applies the Frightened condition to creatures suffering from permanent bleed. It's not going to always come into play, but Frightened is such a strong debuff that it's worth keeping in your pocket. We double down on defense with the Warpriest armor class feat. This gives us training in heavy armor and allows our heavy armor proficiency to scale anytime medium armor does. A tank in heavy armor? I mean, that just makes sense. We also pick up Quick Repair. Hopefully our shield doesn't break often, but when it does, this feat ensures we can fix it fast out in the field. Alright, time for a power boost. We increase Strength, Constitution, Intelligence, and Wisdom by +1 each. We also train in Acrobatics to round out our physical skills, and our Arcana proficiency jumps to Expert as our study of magic continues to grow. Our Tengu's connection to the Fae manifests at this level, represented by a unicorn symbol on their forehead, granting us the Primal Heal spell as an innate spell. An extra casting of Heal never hurts. We're also going to grab a 3rd rank Divine spell in Martyr's Intervention, the Cinematic Lifesaver spell. When a creature within 60 feet is about to drop to 0 hit points, you can redirect the damage to yourself instead. The ally drops to 1 HP, and both you and them gain the Wounded condition. It's a dramatic and risky spell, but in key moments, it can absolutely change the course of a battle. We can now rattle enemies who strike at us with the Disarming Block class feat. When we shield block a melee strike, we can immediately attempt to disarm the attacker as a free action. Removing an enemy's weapon while tanking? That's value on every front. Defense, offense, and control. Our knowledge of religion deepens with expert proficiency, unlocking the general feat Exhort the Faithful. Now, when we're dealing with fellow worshippers of Halcamorra, we can use religion instead of diplomacy or intimidation, persuading with shared beliefs rather than charm or force. We also gain access to Vital Beacon, a 4th rank spell that turns us into a walking font of healing. When allies touch us, they heal for 4d10, though the die size decreases with each use. Cast it at the start of the day, and let the healing flow while you focus on the fight. At this level, we also unlock our 3rd doctrine. Our club attacks now scale to expert proficiency, and we gain their critical specialization, knocking targets up to 10 feet away on a critical hit. Battlefield control, courtesy of Halcamorra. Our years of arcane study finally pay off with Arcane Sense, giving us Detect Magic as an innate arcane cantrip. Better yet, it automatically heightens with our Arcana proficiency. Subtle, but powerful magical awareness. We also gain the Shield Warden class feat, allowing us to use Shield Block to protect adjacent allies. The shield is no longer just ours, it belongs to the whole party. We gain a clearer sense of our roots with the Tengu Lore Ancestry feat. This gives us Master Proficiency in Tengu Lore, plus training in Nature and Survival. Perfect for a Wandering Protector with both Divine and Primal Insight. Our connection to Divine Power deepens with access to 5th rank spells, including Breath of Life and Rallying Banner. Breath of Life is your last second miracle. If an ally is about to die, you can bring them back from the brink and restore 5d8 hit points instantly. No need to be right next to them, the power of faith reaches across the battlefield. And then there's Rallying Banner. We conjure a 30-foot wide glowing banner in the sky, a beacon of hope visible for up to 200 feet. It grants all allies a +1 status bonus to attack rolls and saves against fear, despair, confusion, and control effects. It's a massive, inspirational, and yes, definitely gives the Patriot vibes. War is no longer something we do, it's something we thrive in. With the replenishment of War class feat, we gain temporary hit points every time we strike a foe. Half our level on a hit, our full level on a crit. As long as our club strikes true, we'll keep standing strong. Our attribute scores increase again, with +1 to Constitution and Intelligence, and partial boosts to Strength and Wisdom. More durability, more skill, more awareness. Our body has fully adapted to the burdens of battle. The Hefty Hauler skill feat lets us carry more gear with ease. Armor, weapons, and whatever else the mission demands. We continue bulking up. Athletics rises to Expert as we push toward peak physical form. But the bigger story here is our Arcane Awakening. We gain access to a suite of arcane spells, bringing new versatility to our arsenal. Our 2 arcane cantrips are Glass Shield and Warp Step. Glass Shield conjures a shimmering pane of arcane glass that mimics the effects of Raise a Shield. It has half the hardness of our Divine Shield cantrip, but if it's used to block damage, it shatters, dealing piercing damage to the attacker based on its heightened level. It's fragile, but it bites back. Warp Step increases our stride distance by 5 feet, simple, effective mobility. When positioning means life or death, this helps us get where we need to be. For our first ranked arcane spell, we're going to take Force Barrage, a raw relentless blast of force damage. Sometimes defense isn't enough. When you need to push damage through, this spell delivers. We're also going to pick up the second ranked spell False Vitality, granting us another pool of temporary hit points. No frills, just more staying power to keep us in the fight. And Divine Power hasn't been forgotten. At this level, we unlock the 6th ranked spell, Scintillating Safeguard. As a reaction, we can shield up to 5 allies from harm, choosing a physical or energy damage type, and granting resistance 10 to each. So whether it's a fireball or a dragon's bite, why protect one person when you can just protect everyone? The legend so far. They were never supposed to be the hero. Once a student of arcane theory, cloistered in libraries and lecture halls, they traded scrolls for shields and chalkboards for clubs. The call of Halcamorra, the Lady of Right Bounty, wasn't a thunderclap of destiny, but a whisper carried on storm winds. A whisper that said, stand and protect. And so they did. Feathers soaked from the rain, lightning dancing on their beak, they took their first steps not as a scholar, but as a sentinel. A Tengu who wielded divine magic, not to smite, but to shelter. A Warpriest armored in purpose, their shield as much a symbol as a weapon. They didn't chase glory, they chased stability, peace, a place where others could grow and flourish. Like a farmer tending the fields, they cleared the rocks, braved the storm, and stood tall so others could stand taller. Their magic isn't bound to a single tradition. No, it's a chorus of divine healing, primal instincts, and arcane clarity. They stabilize the dying, redirect death itself, and call down protective wards in the blink of an eye. Their faith is rooted in rich soil, but their wings stretch towards the stars. From electric arp to scintillating safeguard, they are a walking contradiction. The shield that heals, the cleric who disrupts, and the bastion who endures. With every swing of their humble club, they do more than deal damage. They make a statement. You will not pass. They've pushed back enemies with raw force, rattled weapons from the hands of demons, stitched flesh with battlefield medicine, and raised banners high enough to be seen from a mile away. Their presence alone can turn the tide, not because they seek command, but because they embody conviction. Where they walk, allies are steadier. Where they fall, none fall alone. So here, at level 11, they are more than a build. They are a legend in progress. A guardian not of thrones or treasures, but of people. A scholar turned shield bearer. A Tengu who walks through blood and storm to keep the harvest safe. And if this is where the story ends, then let it be said. They held the line. But if it's not, if their journey has not yet reached its peak, then let's press forward into the second half of the build and see what waits beyond the storm. As we step into the higher tiers of play, our blessings of war become blessings for others. Where replenishment of war once gave us temporary hit points for every hit we landed, shared replenishment now lets us pass those temporary hit points onto nearby allies. Strike once, and you endure. Strike twice, and the whole front line stands stronger. Our arcane studies deepen with Arcana reaching master proficiency. We also channel the mystic dread of our ancestry with Harbinger's Claw, an ancestry feat that lets us force a creature to re-roll an attack or skill check once per day and take the worst result. Divine fortune for us, cursed misfortune for them. On the divine side, we unlock the 7th ranked spell Regenerate. This spell is nothing short of miraculous. 1 minute of regeneration 15, keeping someone on their feet no matter how dire the situation. They cannot die from damage during that time. Their dying condition cannot worsen. And lost limbs or organs, well, those will grow back too. Defense and Divine come together again with Channeling Block. This class feat lets us burn a heal spell when we shield block, increasing our shield's hardness by 1d8 per the spell's rank. When damage is about to crash down like a wave, we can meet it with divine reinforcement. We step fully into high-level play, and it comes with a surge in power. Religion climbs to master proficiency, and our 4 key ability scores, strength, constitution, intelligence, and wisdom, each increase by 1. We're smarter, tougher, stronger, and more spiritually attuned than ever before. For our devotion, our deity grants us the general feat Sacred Defense. Once per hour, we can call on our god for protection, gaining 5 temporary hit points on a success, or 10 on a critical. The gods watch over their faithful. Finally, we bring a hammer of divine retribution to the table with our first 8th rank spell, Divine Armageddon, a blast of 10d6 void and 10d6 spirit damage that rains down from above. It's dramatic, it's devastating, and it's the perfect answer for when the best defense is obliteration. By now, our shield isn't just a tool, it's an extension of our will. And with shield salvation, reality bends to match our resolve. Once per shield per preparation, if it were to be destroyed, we simply say, not today. It clings to life with 1 hit point instead. Divine intervention? No, just sheer stubborn faith made manifest. We're bulking up again with athletics reaching master proficiency, but that's not the only divine gift we receive. From the Tengu gods themselves, we're granted Favor of Heaven, allowing us to cast Spirit Blast as a 6th rank innate divine spell once per day, and grants us resistance 5 to spirit damage. But our patron deity isn't outdone here. At this level, we also unlock 9th rank spells, and we've chosen Crusade. It targets 4 creatures and delivers a divine mandate. Lower level targets are compelled to obey. Higher level targets may try to resist, but even then, the sheer divine pressure of your command is hard to ignore. After a lifetime on the battlefield, our warfare lore reaches legendary proficiency. Tactics, formations, flanking, if it involves martial conflict, we are the ultimate authority. And Halcamorra, our goddess of protection and war in this case, grants us a permanent sign of her favor. We're now always under the effects of a blessed spell with a 15-foot aura. It scales with us automatically, half our level, all the time. No casting, no sustain, just divine radiance walking onto the battlefield. At the penultimate level, our Arcana reaches legendary proficiency. Our mastery of the magical arts is complete. We also gain innate initiative, giving us a bonus to initiative rolls and making it that much more likely that we get to act first, when seconds count and lives are on the line. And, speaking of lives, our divine magic now peaks with access to 10th rank spells. We've taken Revival, the most powerful expression of our divine purpose yet. Everyone within 30 feet, living or dead, receives 10d8 plus 40 hit points. For the living, it's healing. For the dead, it's temporary life in the form of temporary hit points. When it ends, the dead return to their rest, but with one final moment to fight alongside us. This is it, the pinnacle of moral achievement. At 20th level, our dexterity and charisma both increase by 1, and constitution and intelligence receive partial boosts as well. Every part of us, mind, body, and soul, is honed to perfection. Our mastery over Arcana now spills into every other mystical discipline. With the general feat Unified Theory, we can substitute Arcana for checks with nature, occultism, or religion. To us, magic is magic. The source, it doesn't matter, only the result. And finally, we're crowned with the ultimate cleric feat, Maker of Miracles. This grants us a second 10th rank spell slot. One miracle wasn't enough. We can now shape the fate of a battlefield twice in a single day. There came a time when the Warpriests no longer marched at the front of the line, but was the line. Where once they bore the burden of divine alone, now their blessings flowed outward, rippling through every clash of their weapon like waves of life upon a blood-soaked tide. Allies struck low by sword or spell rose again, restored not by potion or plea, but by the mere presence of one who had become a vessel and vanguard alike. Their voice, once a prayer, became a commandment. Misfortune clung to enemies who dared cross them, and with a gaze, they could strip fate from a foe's grasps. Limbs were regrown, wounds sealed in moments, and warriors long past their end stood once more at their side, gifted precious seconds of borrowed defiance. Their shield, cracked and battered by the countless blows, no longer splintered when it should have. The will behind it, forged in 1,000 battles, simply refused. Where the divine mingled with steel, the impossible became mundane. And the gods? They noticed. Not just Halcamorra, those whose shadow they wore like armor, but others, Tengu spirits who saw kinship in the wind beneath their wings. One sent a blast of ancestral fury through their feathered hands. Another carved a path before them, demanding crusade, compelling hearts to follow, whether by faith, fear, or force. They strode through war, not like a soldier, but as an omen. Every footfall a sermon, every clash a scripture. Around them the very air shimmered with holy power. Those who fought near them did so with divine precision, wrapped in a constant radius of a blessing that never ended, never faltered. Even death lost its meaning in their presence. When comrades fell, their spirits roared, dragged souls back from the brink. Even the dead, whose long past breath rose in ghost-like fury, granted one final blaze of purpose before fading into peace once more. They knew things others could not fathom. Arcane secrets, divine mysteries, occult truths, all threads woven together in the mind of a warpriest who no longer needed a difference between them. Every form of magic answered their call. And when their miracles began to outnumber their enemies, the divine gifted them yet once more. A second spark, another chance, another miracle. By then, it was no longer clear where the cleric ended and the god began. If this is where the story closes, then let it be said, the crown of the Iron Feather did not fall. They rose and the world rose with them. But if not, then the gods had better make room. This Warpriest build has taken us on a journey. From humble shield bearer to divine juggernaut, wielding faith like a hammer and turning the battlefield into a sanctuary of resistance. Thematically, it's a love letter to the idea that defense isn't passive, it's powerful. This character doesn't just withstand the storm, they are the storm wall that shields others from it. Whether it's keeping allies standing through sheer grit and healing, pushing enemies back with club and critical force, or lighting up the sky with divine wrath, everything about this build is about standing your ground and making that ground sacred. Mechanically, it's a beautiful synergy of durability, battlefield control, and supportive magic. We blend divine spellcasting with shield tactics, stack temporary hit points like candy, and toggle between tank, healer, and team buffer depending on what the moment demands. The inclusion of arcane spells throughout the class feats adds an extra layer of utility that makes this character feel like they always have something they can do, even when surrounded, outnumbered, or staring down a dragon's breath. At the table, this build shines in group play. You're not the main damage dealer, but you are the one who decides who lives and who dies, not by slaying, but by preventing the fall. You will be rolling a lot of reactions, planning out positioning, and choosing the right moment to unleash miracles. And if your GM enjoys cinematic moments, this build feeds them constant fuel. Shields that refuse to break, allies yanked from death's grip, divine banners stretching into the clouds. It's pure hero fantasy with feathers and force. More than anything, this character's fun. You get to feel impactful in every round. You don't just support, you dominate through protection. You'll walk into combat knowing that you're the reason your party can push forward, and that's a kind of responsibility wrapped in such a flavorful package it's just incredibly satisfying. So whether you're looking for a thematic character who channels divine might through a battered shield, or you just want to be able to walk into a dungeon and feel like the frontline legend with a celestial hotline, this build delivers. At Ctrl+Alt+Build, we don't ignore the dice, we embrace them. We don't reject weird combos, we celebrate them. The builds here are made to surprise your GM, delight your table, and inspire new stories that only your group could tell. If this video gives you ideas, or even just made you laugh, drop a like, hit subscribe, and tell me how you'd run the crown of the Iron Feather at your table. Let's talk in the comments. If you'd like to experience the story of another legend, click that video over there, and make sure to subscribe to catch the rest of the future legends to come. Until next time, control the dice, alt the meta, build the legend. I've been Nicholas, your virtual GM. Thanks for watching.